The more valuable you are to the business, the less valuable your business becomes. Most business owners spend years doing everything, but the business never grows past a certain point. I know this firsthand because I built 3 7-figure businesses and had 2 exits, and I consult with hundreds of founders every single month. This is the mistake that most business owners make. They want to delegate, they want to systematize, and they want to remove themselves, but they do it in the wrong order. And instead of growing the business, everything falls apart. Here are the 3 things that you need to focus on in the next 90 days if you want a business that runs itself and doesn't depend on you. So the first thing is figuring out which to delegate first. Recently, I had a conversation with a client who runs an M&A firm and they want to drive more leads. And what I consulted them on was building a high-ticket consulting program on the front end. And here's why I recommended this. So the program that they're going to create teaches business owners how to prep their business to sell. What they end up doing is they charge for that program, that liquidates their cost per acquisition, and that allows them to acquire customers profitably. But it also becomes a filtration mechanism because the business owners who go through that program are already pre-sold on my client, they're already educated, and they already trust her. And when it's time to sell, she's going to be the obvious person that's going to do it. And she gets the commission on the back end, which means she's profitable on the front end, she's profitable on the back end as well. So when I laid out the plan, she was totally on board. The issue was it's bandwidth. She wants to build a software. She wants to launch another coaching program. She wants to do this. She wants to do that. There's 10 different directions that she's moving in. She doesn't see the power of doubling down on one scalable product and then getting on sales calls to validate it. Because before you build anything, you need to know that the offer is going to convert. So you have to get into the driver's seat. You have to sell. You have to standardize the sales process so that way you can pass it off to other people. Now, the biggest pattern that I see constantly, business owners want to move to the next thing before they've extracted the value from the thing that's in front of them. And what they don't realize is that sales and marketing is the lifeline of your business. Yeah, fulfillment is there, but really ultimately, if you don't have sales and marketing, you could have the best fulfillment system in the world. You don't really have a business. And if you look at people doing this at the highest level, Alex Hormozi still runs all of the acquisition.com's marketing. That's his primary focus. Cole Gordon still is the CRO for closers.io. He still does call reviews. He still manages the sales team. He's still involved in the lead generation strategy. These people are running 8 to 9-figure businesses who have every reason and the capacity to be able to step back. They still don't. When you understand how to generate leads and sales inside of your business better than anybody, you can't be fooled. You can't just get duped by an agency who promises you that you're going to get leads and then all of a sudden doesn't deliver, or you get talked into hiring a bad hire who talks a big game, but they can't deliver because you know what good looks like because you have the knowledge. Sales is the last thing that you delegate. Then what do you delegate first? There's 5 core functions in a business. There's lead gen, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, finances, ascension, and retention. I like to work backwards from fulfillment. You want to get yourself out of fulfillment, the operations, and the admin. Sales is the last seat that you leave. Here's where most business owners get stuck in fulfillment. They think that they're the only one that can do it. They've built the delivery around them and their knowledge, so they can't productize it. It's their relationship. It's their way of doing things. The problem isn't the team. It's that fulfillment was never productized. If you're building from scratch, you want to make this decision from day one. Think one to many. How can I productize my service? How can I do it in a way where other people can come in and replace parts of me? Because if every decision about how delivery happens is made by you, then you are the biggest bottleneck. Because if you don't build that from the start, you're going to spend months untangling everything that you've built. Dan Martell has a quote really well. You don't hire to grow your business, you hire to buy back your time. And the time that you buy back from fulfillment goes into sales and marketing. Every time that you get back from the front end goes to activities that allow you to make more money. The second thing, if you want to be able to build a business that runs without you, is understanding that delegation will fail. When you get a wrong hire, or something doesn't work out, business owners throw up their hand and they're like, oh, recruiting doesn't work, or I can't find the right person. When in reality, you just don't have the skill of leadership to make that thing work. And so then they end up going back to doing the same thing over and over again. And they make this firm belief statement that these things don't work. Just because you failed at hiring the wrong person doesn't mean delegating is wrong. It just means that you just didn't do it the right way. My recommendation to business owners is always to delegate admin as soon as humanly possible, like inbox management, scheduling, follow-ups, all the things that require a lot of bandwidth that are tedious tasks that you can hire a VA for $1,500 a month to do. In my last business, we had a team of 10 VAs that handled all the billing, the admin, and all the sales ops. The second thing you want to delegate is fulfillment. Once you've productized how the fulfillment gets done to the customer, you want to get yourself out of delivery. This frees up a lot of your energy. Just because you can get yourself out of sales doesn't mean you can't get yourself out of sales management, because you stop being the seller. Now you have to manage the sellers that are selling. Now you've gotten all this time back. So you've delegated admin, you've delegated fulfillment, you've delegated sales. Now you have all the time that's dedicated to lead generation. That is the function inside of the business that determines everything. Because if leads stop coming in, nothing works. There's no fulfillment, right? The team has nothing to do. The closers don't have anything to do. Your whole business stalls because your job as a business owner is to be the rainmaker. That's why staying close to the lead generation for as long as possible. So get admin and fulfillment out really quickly. So that way you have the energy to focus on sales and marketing. But here's the thing that most people don't understand is that when you try to find the right person, they underestimate how many interviews it takes to find the right person. So at Closers, we interview 350 to 400 people to find the top 3 to 5 talent. And most business owners, and I used to do this, only interview 3 to 5. A great resource on how to interview and how to find the right person is a book called Who. And it guides you through the entire process. And I remember using that book, I hired my first studio manager. Her name was Christina, and I didn't really vet her for skill. I was vetting for the person. And I knew she was the right person because in the mock interview, I just threw problems at her. I didn't build any SOPs. I just said, hey, go solve this problem. And she figured out a way to solve the problem because I was hiring for the person. I was hiring an A player because at the end of the day, your main goal is to find the people and the people will build the business. The third thing you want to focus on is systems, processes, and AI. Right now, I'm validating a new offer. There's no script, there's no SOPs, there's nothing standardized. The first couple of calls that I'm doing are very messy. And I go back to the call recordings and I see what's working. Where am I losing people? And after enough reps, I've done this enough times for 2 months. Now that I know what that process looks like and I've standardized it, I've written it down, now I can hand it off to another rep. That's the sequence that most business owners skip. They'll write the SOP before they even have done something. They're trying to perfect it. You can't document a process that you don't understand. So you have to get your hands dirty. So recently I had a client who's a SaaS founder and all of his lead gen is coming through investor connections, which aren't very reliable. It's a hit or miss. That's why he's having peaks and valleys. So we came in to help him build a system that's going to drive inbound and outbound traffic. But his hesitancy was getting on sales calls himself to validate the process. And so I had to have a heart-to-heart with him like, hey man, like you are the founder. This is what you have to do first. You have to do this to record every call. That way we can turn this into a playbook. This isn't you sit around and mental masturbate with ChatGPT to come up with a playbook. This is something that you have to do. You got to get your hands dirty. So that way we can standardize it for the rest of your team. Because without that, you're really handing off something that we don't know if it's going to work or not. So whenever I'm looking to delegate or figure out how I'm going to delegate, there's 3 questions that I ask myself. Does this need a person? Does this need a process? Or does this need tech or AI? Sometimes the answer is all 3. But the rule that I live by is that I'm never going to automate a broken process. The goal is to fix it. It's to standardize it. Then I'm going to document it. Then I'm going to automate it. And if I can't automate it, then I'm going to delegate the parts that I can't automate. Now, the questioning that I have before I hire anybody, I ask myself, can AI do it? Because if you can get Claude Code and Clawbot and all of these other agents to build stuff for you, then it saves you a lot of time to get specialty people, A players inside of the business that can focus on their zone of genius. Like for instance, right now, I'm building a full system that does long-term follow-up for me and all of my prospects until they sign up, right? It took me 4 hours to build and it's fully operational. I'm working out the kinks. The reason I share that with you is because I'm spending a lot of time right now learning and experimenting and playing with AI. Not because it's interesting, it's going to change the way that we play business. Like my prediction is that within the next couple of months, very large organizations, and I think it's already happening, they're going to have a chief AI officer. Someone whose full-time job is to keep up with what's changing and implementing AI across the business. I have a very good friend of mine who's doing that exactly within an agency. That's all he does. He's the AI guy. The business owners that figured this out early are going to be able to run circles around the competition, right? Less overhead, faster execution, leaner team. You're able to do more. It finally clicks. You don't realize it, but it clicks. It's kind of this fresh breath of air. Mike Olowitz, the author of Clockwork, he calls this the vacation test. So you set a vacation in advance and then you leave. It's not a work trip. It's not the one where you're available on Slack. You actually disappear. I didn't know what I was doing. So I gave myself one test. So when I did the vacation test myself, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. My whole test was I'm going to relax. And the only thing that I'm going to check is my payment processor. I just want to make sure that the payments are going through and sales are being made on a daily basis and we're collecting the cash from the customers. And every single day for 7 days, I looked at the payment processor, cash flow came in, ads were working, the team was selling, everybody was happy, nobody reached out to me, nobody called, and I'm sure there was probably fires that they had to put out, but they figured it out themselves. And that's when I knew I had built an actual business. And that year, I traveled more than I ever had. It was probably the year that I felt the most richest, not because I made the most money, because I made money without being present inside of the business. And every time I showed up was really just for direction and key meetings and setting the tone and the agenda. Everything else ran without me.